Hmm? Ah!
Wasn't sure I'd find you. Thought you might still be rowing.
Hey everybody, welcome to our podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Duncan.
And I'm Jenny.
This is Game of Microphones, episode 37. Welcome, Jenny. You haven't been on this season.
Okay.
Glad to have you on. You didn't know that?
No, I don't.
You haven't.
I live in the moment. I don't have much of a memory anymore.
You guys,
pot has been legalized in California.
You haven't.
That's why they call you the goldfish.
No. Reason why I wanted you to come on this time is because Melissa couldn't make it.
Mm-hmm. I know I'm number 2.
No, I'm just kidding. But mostly because it's good to have you on. We've had so many different hosts on that people like to hear from everybody. And also, we were talking about Game of Thrones recently in that last week's episode, which was so amazing. And you saw that it was directed by Matt Shakman. And you used to know Matt Shakman.
Yeah, it was
No
crazy. I was just watching it. And I was like, and it said directed by Matt Shakman. I'm like, Matt Shakman! I went to college with him. Hey, I know this, or I recognize the name, And we worked together on some plays because he was, of course, a major theater geek, and and so where I went to school, there's a huge theatrical community. Everybody works on plays, and everyone loves to do it. And he there's some people that know what they want to do from a very young age, and they just hit the ground running, and they're like 10 years ahead of everyone, and everyone's just like this college freshman who have no idea what the hell they want to do. But then there's some people who feel like they should be already earning money in whatever they're doing.
Was he really good at it, so you could
Yes.
kind of see, this guy probably has a future?
Yes. I mean, he was good. He was committed. He was just 10 years older than us emotionally and professionally. You're kind of like, why are you in college? Oh, yeah, well, you're 18. So anyone's going to take you seriously.
He totally killed that episode. It was amazing. Did a really good job.
Both of these, but that last one was especially impressive because of the battle at the end.
Yeah. So he was. I think he was a child.
If you can call that a battle.
He was a child actor. So he's been in entertainment a long time. And, he did a lot of productions in school, and I think I did probably 1 or 2 with him. Of course, me just being a little techie.
What do you mean by tech? Like you would do,
I would do sound
lighting and stuff?
Yeah, stuff like that.
He'd be holding that big metal thing and making thunder sounds.
Yeah, and he'd be the director, right?
Shake it harder,
anyways,
Jenny.
it's awesome to see that he is making it in Hollywood. I mean, he's a working director. I checked his IMDb.
He's done a whole bunch of episodes of Always Sunny too, right?
Yeah, and a bunch of other shows too. He did a couple of Fargo, and
I am in no way surprised that he could pull this off. I mean, and people might be like, "Oh, he just does comedy." No, he's done quite a bit. Wide range.
Seriously, that battle was a technically difficult shoot to direct. I mean, Jesus, there's a lot at play there.
It's on this show, there was the first battle in the War of Five Kings where Tyrion got knocked out, and that was their excuse not to have to show any of it, it seemed like.
When they had the mountain tribes on the vanguard.
Yeah, and it was like, I guess they don't have enough money, but since then they've totally made up for it by having the most amazing battles ever on TV.
Yeah, totally.
Which is really cool. And of course I had to miss it because I was out last week, and I was like, well, that's okay, because this week I'm going to get to see a huge battle at Eastwatch. God damn it! Next week I'm out too. So
yeah, they should have called it Prelude to Eastwatch.
No. Oh, well, it was still a really good episode, and let's get into it. So it's our top 3 highlights of Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 5, Eastwatch. And it did feel kind of like The Walking Dead does sometimes, because it gets you anticipating something cool, and then it doesn't happen for a long time. And I'm like, zombie hunting, hell yeah. And then they go off into the white mist, and then you see the credits. And
I was like 5 minutes left, huh? I guess there's time for a fight.
Yeah. It's going to be really good, though, because they're going to condense something amazing into, it's over.
Yeah.
But let's get into our top 3. Jenny, would you like to go first?
So for 3, I think this is probably something that people have already brought up previously, is just how fast this action is how fast the plot is moving, right? Like you look at the other seasons, there are years of Daenerys gathering and trying to hold on to power, and suddenly, there's like no problems feeding the Dothraki or keeping them from ravaging. There's no like widespread famine, there's no political instability in Dorne, right? There's no rebellion against Cersei, it's just like, oh yeah, everything's dealt with. Let's just move the story along, and there's just nothing to hold it up.
One clear sign of that this time was when Davos goes to get Gendry, and he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. I don't even need to pack anything. Fuck this job. Let's go. Which I liked, but it was definitely a sign of the pacing of the show and where it's
right. He says, I've been getting ready. Never knew what for, but I'd know when it came.
Yeah.
Or traveling suddenly seems to take a really short time. There was a whole scene in which Bronn and the Sand Snake is flirting, and now 6 guys who have every reason to hate each other meet up, and they're like, let's go.
Yeah, just really quick a reminder of why they all hate each other, and then John's like, yeah, but we're all breathing, so we're all on the same side. All right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are some storylines that they are still slowing down on. Like, I think Arya and Sansa and Littlefinger, whatever is going on there, I like that, because I'm not quite sure what's going to go on, and that's what I like, because that's kind of like the Game of Thrones of past, in which you're like, oh, what's going to go on? I have no idea. Everything else seems a little, I'm going to say obvious. There are some details I might not be able to predict, but it's all converging towards a final
confrontation with the White Walkers, right, and deciding who will sit on the Iron Throne.
But possibly. Like Arya, Sansa, like I'm not quite sure how they feel about each other. So I just like the uncertainty of what's going on there.
It's so funny too with Arya. She's like sneaking around, following everybody around, when doing all this stuff. She could just be sitting there with Bran, like, "What's happening now, Bran? What's he doing now?"
Yeah, it's like, can you read Littlefinger's mind, please, and tell me what he's.
That'd be
to?
So boring for all of us, though.
And she's too sure of herself, like she's being set up to fail, and you're not seeing that with the other characters, right? Everybody is just kind of fulfilling their destiny. But here, there's still some uncertainty, like there's still some heartbreak left in the series, and I sadly, sadomasochistically like that.
That's part of the show. It's like scratching an itch. Yeah, if it was all just sunshine and nice and everybody was a hero and they never had any trouble, then I wouldn't be watching the show. I don't want to see that. But I still think also, too, there's heartbreak left to come in these storylines where they are coming to a fairly clear end point, but who's going to be sacrificed along the way? And I really don't know what's going to happen ultimately with Westeros. It could be Dany on the throne, it could be Jon, or it could be something that we can't even imagine right now.
It could be Cersei's and Jaime's lovely child.
I'm just hoping that they decide to abolish the monarchy and found a constitutional republic that protects the rights of the small folk.
Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it really is. I mean, that seems to be what Dany's angling towards to some degree, saying that she wants to break the wheel that's been running over the rich and small folk alike.
I don't know if she has the imagination for that. I mean, not to say that she doesn't have a good imagination, but I'm just saying within her context of thousands of years of there being an absolute ruler, I still think she sees herself as a necessary authoritarian ruler that will be just and fair to her people,
right? But and there's evidence for that in this episode too, when she's talking to Jon.
But I think that what you just said could be a possibility through some set of occurrences that we don't know about, that maybe she might fight against her. I don't know, change her mind or something.
Yeah.
I just don't see that. I mean, true, she has no one to pass it down to, but she's like Queen Elizabeth I, man. She's not going to give it up while she's alive.
Yeah, I don't think so, but we'll see. Yeah, but I do feel like that possibly the way the series could end is that it is an end of an era, that we've had thousands of years of monarchy, and this will be a paradigm shift for Westeros.
That'd be really cool.
See that. All right, what's your number 3, Duncan?
My number 3 is Jon and Drogon, which I just thought that was so cool, man. And we've all been waiting for so long for Jon to have an interaction with a dragon. And the way it happened with her riding up on it and the triumphant version of the dragon theme playing and it landing and screeching in his face and getting all close to him. And there's a shot from in between the dragon's legs where you can it's like looking up his underbelly kind of, and his head is hanging down towards Jon. And Jon takes off his glove and starts to reach up. And it's not even that easy for Daenerys to pet her own dragon. But she, like when she was in Meereen and Drogon came flying in and surprised her after he'd been gone for a while. And she goes out on the balcony and he's sitting on top of the pyramid looking down at her, and she reaches up to try to pet his nose and he flies off without letting her touch him. So it's pretty crazy that this new guy that Drogon has no experience with essentially is standing there, and that he's allowing him to initiate physical contact with him. I also thought it was pretty crazy that Daenerys had the balls to basically ride her dragon face to face with Jon, having no fear that the dragon would like try to bite him or something like that. It's pretty risky with him being the king in the north. She could have easily been a kingslayer there.
It seems like she has total control over the dragons now, because
it really does.
Another symptom of that, not to get totally into it yet, but is she had him burn Dickon and Randall Tarley alive, and there were people
perfectly targeted
pretty close by.
Right.
So
yeah.
She has fine control over this thing.
And Drogon roared at the perfect time when they needed people to kneel and everything. It's like they have some sort of mental bridge going on at this point, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But,
and as far as the way that Jon responded to Drogo, I think she looked nervous for him. She was like, "Well,"
for a second there,
and I thought
when she lost sight of him, that's when she looked real nervous.
Is he still there? And but the way he handled it, Jon Snow like is not a very talkative guy. His attributes are his integrity and his bravery and his honor, and he's a solid guy. And so the way he handled it, just by keeping his feet planted and looking at the dragon head on, but not posturing. He was about ready
giving
to
no retreat,
shit his pants
giving
too,
no
though.
Aggressive movement. Yeah,
he was scared, but that's why he's brave, because he was scared, but yet he still stayed. And I think that impressed the dragon.
There.
I also think it really impressed Dany. I think whatever affection she was feeling for him in that moment got magnified by like 3 or 4 times.
At least she's one of those girls that's like, I can't date you unless my dogs like you.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how I saw the scene. It was like,
totally.
Let's see how this guy stacks up with my pet or relative. Oh wait, my pet that is a relative.
Double test.
Yeah, and he totally got the pet endorsement there, and I think she melted slightly at that moment.
And of course, that probably means, we know that the dragons respond well to Targaryens, right?
Exactly.
That's a huge part of it.
It's alleged.
Alleged, yeah. Which makes you wonder about Tyrion, since Tyrion seemed to do pretty well with the dragons in Meereen.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, they were fireproof, and so they were less afraid of dragons, and therefore you could actually kind of deal with the dragon one-on-one.
I get the sense that Drogon knows that Jon is a Targaryen. Maybe.
That's what I think.
He's just like, I can tell you are fireproof. I can just sniff it.
Yeah.
He's like, I recognize that smell.
That's good Targaryen blood.
Fee, fi, fo, fum.
You have so much iron in your blood, you won't melt.
And then all of a sudden Drogo goes, he like bucks Dany off, and then lowers his head down for Jon and says, "You are the rightful king of Westeros." Because we might as well talk about it. What Gilly said, right?
Right.
She said that
Prince Rhaegar.
some Rhaegar had an annulment and got remarried, which means probably that Jon was born within the confines of wedlock and is absolutely the legitimate heir to the throne. That, I think, puts him in front of Daenerys, right?
Absolutely. As the eldest living son of the eldest son of the king. Yeah, he would come in line before Daenerys under any circumstance.
Okay. Yes. So when I first heard that in the show, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then later, as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, you know what? I think I agree with Sam. Like, who gives a S? I mean, like, there are White Walkers coming upon you. Like, who cares who is the legal king if you're all going to be dead? It's almost like saying, I'm going to kill you, Jon Snow. And he says, that's Mr. Jon Targaryen to you.
I think that Sam would have cared that if he had known that it was related to Jon in some way, but Sam doesn't know that Jon is related to Rhaegar at all.
Right. That was funny because that really meant that scene, the way they got that knowledge out was super cute, and it was basically in the context of Sam being annoyed and annulment is when you get rid of your spouse, because he was just annoyed with her. But it was information for us.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
It's so funny. He hears her, like, she's going on about the 15,728 steps and all these bowel movements, and then she mispronounces Rhaegar, and he's just like had enough at that point. Yeah. And I feel like he like half heard the statement. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. Like, maybe they go to Winterfell and she meets Sansa and she's like, oh, Sansa Stark, was your aunt Lyanna the one that married Rhaegar? And everyone's just like, what? Yeah, Rhaegar.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know, maybe he did hear it, but it did make me wonder, maybe Gilly will recall that information at some point.
From the mouths of babes.
But Duncan, I mean, why would you care, right? You're all for getting rid of the monarchy.
Monarchy.
Oh, yeah.
so
well,
like,
sometimes you need to be in power to be able to have influence to that degree. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could argue that Daenerys has a strong claim on the throne, and Cersei's not giving it up, so she's not going to care if like Jon is, got an even stronger claim. No, like
it would be incentive for them to join the North and the South, though. That would provide a means to uniting the kingdoms again.
But they're kind of working together already right now.
Game of Thrones has always been about what are they going to do about the White Walkers and who is going to be the final king or queen of the throne. Those are the two pillars of this show. So this is very important to one of those pillars, which could also have an effect on the other pillar. That's why I care, because it's a huge part of the Game of Thrones story.
It is. But that's one thing about all the characters in Game of Thrones. They have not really let the legality stop them from going after the throne.
Right, I mean, Renly.
Tradition. Yeah. I mean, the Targaryens were ruling for
hundreds.
They ruled for 300 years.
Yeah. That's a pretty long time. And so that was for that length of time, and then the last however many years Robert Baratheon was ruling.
But I mean,
17 by the time of the start of the show.
The true claim to the throne is the fact that they control dragons. So,
man, he was 17 years, and he was that big pot-bellied dude by the end when he used to be a warrior. He really let himself go.
And that's like that makes me think of the scene in tonight's episode when Gendry and Jon meet each other, and Gendry they're talking. Jon's like, "Oh, you're thinner than your dad," and Gendry says, "You're shorter."
Yeah,
it was like
Jon looked really upset by that.
Yeah, hilarious. But that was just like the first scene, one of the first scenes of the show, in the pilot episode when Robert arrives with his procession at Winterfell, hops off his horse, walks over, and they're kind of sternly staring at he and Ned, and he goes, "You got old," to Ned, and Ned like kind of looks him up and down. "You got fat."
Yeah, he kind of walked into that one.
Yeah, it was great. They just start laughing. And
okay, my number 3 is the approaching dead, because there was quite a bit about first discovering what was happening and then talking, different responses to it. And I loved Bran kind of warging into this flock of crows.
Oh, that's great.
Ravens,
that was
one by
so
one.
Cool.
Yeah, and then how they were flying over the wall and into the territory of the White Walkers.
They're all flying along and like kind of looking all different directions as they're flying. It made me think of like a security guard with like behind a network of computer monitors, and you're just looking back and forth between screens. Mm-hmm. Like all the eyes of the different ravens are turning white one at a time.
And then they come upon this huge, massive army of the dead with the Night King and the other White Walkers in the middle, and then he just like waves off the raven, "Don't spy on us." But here now we know what the dead do. They just walk around. Like, I mean, they couldn't have taken all that time to march, so they're doing like marching drills or something.
Well, right, yeah, because this strange world in which people can get from Dorne to Winterfell really quickly or something like that. But then the White Walkers are still walking towards Eastwatch.
Right. What was that episode? It was like season 2 or something when Sam is walking along with Dolorous Ed and Gren, and the mist starts to approach, and they hear the 3 blasts for White Walkers or something. And Gren and Ed just book it, and Sam is left slogging along in the snow and gets completely bombarded by all these Whites and White Walkers, and they're still marching. I mean, they were marching in season 2. Yeah. It's been 5 years.
It's a little ridiculous, but it's okay. I don't care.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
It's fun to talk about.
It's awesome.
Did they have zombie horses? I think in that scene.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was one cool White Walker on the back of a zombie horse, and Sam is hiding behind a rock, and the horse kind of pulls up next to it and stops, and the White Walker looks over it and makes eye contact with Sam, and opens his mouth and kind of shrieks and lifts up his spear, and then everybody continues marching forward, and they just leave Sam alone. Why did they leave Sam alone? He saw him. They made eye contact. What's up with that?
Well, because they thought if we kill him and then we lift him up with his fat, dumpy White Walker that we have to deal with.
we don't want him. Just leave him alone. He's no problem.
I've heard people speculating that the White Walkers may not have a problem with good people. They're just targeting specific people or something like that.
You know what? A twist like that would be pretty cool.
Like they have some sort of morality, some code.
So then the scroll Bran sent to everyone said he saw the Night King and his army marching towards Eastwatch. And Eastwatch is at the end of the wall where the ocean meets the land. And you can see that the wall extends out a ways into the ocean. And it just kind of made me wonder, okay, what was the plan if because are the White Walkers going to try to go around the wall? And what was the plan if the wildlings had tried to go around the wall in their ships or boats? There was a big ship at the end, so maybe the Night's Watch has some seamen who are out there, ready to fight on the water. I don't know, but it seems like if they're heading towards Eastwatch, the White Walkers, maybe they're going to try to go around the wall, right?
Maybe. I mean,
freeze the water.
When they walk up, everything freezes, so it seems like they could just walk right around. But I think when the wall was built, it wasn't built to defend against the wildlings. That was a subsequent thing. Like they were just on the wrong side of the wall when it happened to be built. I feel. I think that it was designed for the White Walkers, the Whites.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying, after 1,000 years or whatever, everyone forgot and thought it was for the wildlings. So they must have had a plan for that.
It's really hard to freeze salt water. So.
That's true. Good call.
Yeah,
it does get really, really cold though. But wait, that's a good point. Real hard to freeze salt water.
Say,
good call.
It looks just like the border wall down in the California-Mexico border, like where our friend
San
Danny
Diego
is. You can see the border wall go into the water, and it goes into the water for a little while, and then it kind of sinks out of view. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about the response. It was funny that the maester, one of the archmaesters, said the threat of the dead was nothing but stories from wet nurses wanting to frighten their children. Why would a wet nurse want to frighten? Aren't they just little babies? Like, if you're a wet nurse, are you not like? Maybe if you're Robin,
like breastfeeding age.
Robin Aaron, you're like 12 years old.
You got a wet nurse. They breastfeed the baby. Then the baby's kind of attached, and so you kind of like, the wet nurse becomes kind of like basically the nanny. You know,
but they're babies.
You got to scare them into submission. Rawr.
So, but I really love this idea of bringing one white through, going zombie hunting. It almost feels like another show,
idea.
But I love it, and it's really fun. And I mean, if they had like an iPhone with a video camera on it, that would pretty much solve it. But they don't have that. So Tyrion's plan is to show Cersei a white so they can all fight together. Now, actually, I don't think that is a great plan because, as we know in today's culture, there can be some danger, but if in order to face that danger, you have to become vulnerable yourself, then people will rationalize and say that the danger isn't real. And I'm not just talking about climate change, which, people fall on different sides of that, but it can be anything. If you like someone said, if you're being paid to not acknowledge something, then you won't acknowledge it. So it's not in Cersei's motivation to just straightforwardly donate all her forces to go fight. And she pretty much said to Jaime, I'm going to go ahead and agree to this, but it's so that I can figure out a way to defeat her, because if we just fight her head on, we're going to lose.
Well, I mean, she's not dumb, but I just got the sense she's just like, okay, if these White Walkers truly exist, let her, lose some of her power fighting against them, and then when she's weakened, I can go after her. I mean, that's what I would do if I was her.
Right, but what's going on is they're having talks with her so she will...
To join them, yeah.
I thought they were saying join, yeah. Yeah, join up. Because they wouldn't trust her to say, okay, go ahead, we promise we won't attack Dragonstone while you're gone. No, they would say, all right, we want some of your forces to join with us.
Yeah, we're initiating a temporary armistice. We'll join forces to deal with the external threat, and then we'll continue to fight amongst each other.
And that's why it's dumb, because you can't trust Cersei.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely not.
But it does stop the active fighting for a while. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
How about that scene with the, she's talking to Jaime and they're talking about the armistice and meeting Tyrion and everything, and she pulls him in after telling him that she's pregnant, and she says, "Never betray me again." Did you get any Godfather vibes off that? You're my older brother, Fredo. I love you, but never take sides against the family again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to end well between the two of them.
It's totally understandable, He betrayed her, so don't betray me again.
Sort of. I mean, it was sort of a small betrayal.
How did he betray her, though?
He let Tyrion go.
Oh, by letting him go. Right.
Right. She wanted him dead. Yeah. He let him go, and not only did he escape, but what did he do on his way out? He killed their dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he let him go then, and he let him go this time that he met him.
Yeah, and I got the sense even just meeting with him was considered a betrayal,
But he didn't know about it.
He didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
She was kind of more pissed at Bronn.
You're right.
Bronn better watch his back.
I know.
But I'm sure he knows that. So
number 2.
Number 2. The return of Gendry, who looks a lot like Christian Bale. He's changed in these years. But part of me was like, oh, duh, I should have seen that. Look, we need dragon glass. We need to forge weapons.
But he's not going to do it, though.
Oh yeah, I was pretty surprised.
Not
that
immediately.
He ended up continuing to be a warrior. But still, I was just like, duh, of course, that totally matches up. But yeah.
How about that fan service from Davos, that meta commentary? I thought you might still be rowing.
Yeah. I know, that was
good. I mean, this show has to be careful with that because it's not a comedy, but this is something that he would actually say, so it was perfect.
Yeah, it felt real to me. It's just such a great meta commentary, because for years everybody's been joking about how Gendry is still out there rowing somewhere.
And that was one of the biggest loose ends, right? And so they finally tied it up, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. But it made me wonder, he's the last known heir to the Baratheon line, and so are they going to make anything of that?
Maybe Jon will legitimize him.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that will play in somehow. I just wanted to refresh people on his story because I had to go back.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, so he's the last known bastard son of Robert Baratheon, although it wasn't widely known that he was. Joffrey had all the other bastards killed.
Even he didn't know. Yeah. Like nobody knew.
He didn't have the name, would have been Waters, because the bastard names are different in all the regions. There's sand, snow, flowers, hill, pike, stone, or storm. And so Joffrey had all the other ones killed, but he got away, and he was going to go be a night part of the Night's Watch at the Wall. But
he was traveling with Arya on the route up.
And he was targeted there. They were looking for another of the bastards, but they ended up being thrown off and thinking it was Lomi Greenhands, right? Instead.
Yeah.
And then he ended up with the Brotherhood without banners for a while. He was smithing for them, but then they sold him to Melisandre for 2 bags of gold. And she wanted to kill him for his king's blood because she knew who he was. And
they used him first to suck the leeches.
Right. She wanted to kill him, but then Davos convinced her to just do the leech test. And then they used those leeches filled with his blood. They threw it into the fire, and they prayed for the death of 3 usurper kings: Joffrey, Balon Greyjoy, and Robb Stark, who are all dead now. So that might have worked. Then
see, Davos doesn't just waste stuff like the upper class
people,
right? He's like, come on, let's be,
well, he was being
be
kind.
efficient.
But then they put him in prison, and once Robb Stark did die, then Stannis was like, well, we should kill him because it will get greater power. But then Davos stuck him in the rowboat and got him away from there and told him
what's the life of one bastard boy in terms of the fate of the kingdom? And Davos says, everything.
That's great. And then told him to go to King's Landing. So he actually was headed there last time we saw him rowing off.
So
Davos knew he'd be in Flea Bottom too. Great.
And
well, I think he said he checked all the whorehouses first and the markets and stuff.
Then he headed to the Street of Steel. He should have known.
So I guess Davos told him to call himself Clovis, which I was like, oh, this is such a nerdy shout out because, as some people may know, Clovis is what they call a certain class of flaked projectile points, like arrows, spear, darts from about 13,000 years ago in North America. It's one of the earliest and finest examples of man's handiwork, and they're special and rare, and sometimes people even try faking making them. So I just thought, that's such a nerdy thing that they would call this Smith guy, who may possibly be working with Obsidian in the future,
right?
Clovis.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome, Jenny.
And the last thing I about him is, that I love that whole tense exchange with the Lannister guards. You think they're going to cause trouble, and then Davos cleverly had those, what was it, fermented crab, and made up the story about it giving like a
hard on
Cialis. Yeah.
You put a hole in your chainmail.
And then they see Tyrion, and oh shit, of course it couldn't have gone well. And then you see Gendry just fucking Thor on them and slam him in the head with his smithing hammer. And I think the whole point of that scene, they do such a good job of they impart something in a scene and you don't even realize it. But I think the whole point was just to show that he's a badass with that thing and that he can be used in battle.
And it makes perfect sense too, because his dad, the King Robert, was famous for using a war hammer. It's so cool because he's been drawn to the hammer. It's been drawn to the hammer his whole life without even knowing who his father was. He wanted to be a smith. He's been working with hammers, like making high quality products. So he's a precision. He's like a precision smith. Like he can swing that hammer well and precisely.
Yeah.
And didn't even know his origins and the significance of the hammer for his bloodline.
Interesting.
And then I don't know if you guys noticed, but on his hammer, on his warhammer, there are stag antlers. So he made it specifically as an homage to his father's house.
Right.
And it's not like unheard of for bastards to fight for their father's house. But I feel like it could be foreshadowing that, he's the last known Baratheon spawn, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He could be the future of the Baratheon house. I feel like Jon will probably legitimize him at some point.
If he's still alive.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay. Number 2, Duncan.
All right. My number 2 is the Eastwatch 7.
Yeah.
Our crew of homies up at the wall.
Who do we have?
We have Gendry, Beric, Thoros, Jon, Jorah, Tormund, and the Hound.
Badass crew.
Dude, that's the dream team, minus Michael Jordan plus Gendry. Right? These are all like legendary fighters or survivors. I mean, who do we have? We have Jon Snow, who's like the master swordsman with long claw. Nobody's ever stood a chance against him in training yard. Any adult he's fought, even if he doesn't have the sword. Like after he loses it fighting the Thenn, he manages to put a hammer through the guy's head.
And he's got that sword fighting for Jorah's father. By the way, I thought that was
right.
Yeah,
he saved him from a white, and he passed the sword to him instead of giving it to Jorah. We got Tormund, who's a gnarly, like, legendary warrior. He's just like the ferocity embodied basically. Total beast. We've got the Hound, who's legendary for his prowess in battle. Kingsguard, like this is a serious dude. We've got Jorah, who defeated Drogo's Blood Rider in single combat, fought his way through the fighting pits of Meereen just to get access to his queen again. Then there's the survivors, who are Beric, not necessarily particularly talented in combat or anything special about him, durable. Except that he survives. Yeah, super durable. Thoros, nothing particularly special about him either, but he's a survivor. They've proved themselves living through the hell of the Riverlands during the War of the Five Kings, dealing with the Mountain and his maniacs, and these guys have survived through a lot of crazy stuff.
And I love, too, that a lot of them have reasons not to like each other.
Yeah, that was so cool. Like, yeah, Tormund's like, you're a Mormont.
Yeah.
Your father hunted us.
And Gendry hates Thoros and Beric.
For selling
sold him.
And it's just like a microcosm of the bigger picture, is that we're all alive. We need to band together to defeat the dead, because they don't give a shit. Yeah, we're all breathing. I thought there was some pretty cool stuff. The fact that there's 7 of them, and
seven's a big number. Yeah, the kingdoms,
big
the gods.
Number. The kingdoms, the gods, the faith of the 7. It's everywhere. The sept, the septas, scepters, septons. So I kind of looked at it a little bit and realized that each one of these characters may symbolize, in one way or another, one of the 7 gods of the faith. So we have Gendry, who's obviously representing the smith, right? We have Beric, who would represent the stranger, as he's associated with death and repeatedly dying and coming back. Thoros could represent the mother, as he repeatedly gives life to Beric. Jon could be considered the father, because he's going to be, the father of the new 7 kingdoms, and he's essentially the patriarch of the realms of men, which now include the wildlings, thanks to him. And everybody, kind of is looking to him to be their leader. Jorah could be the crone, because he's the old guy. Tormund and the Hound. This is where it gets kind of funny. Either one of these guys could be either the maiden or the warrior. They're both really, renowned warriors. They can both fight. And then either of them could classify as the maiden, or representing the maiden, because you got Tormund, who's obsessed with the maiden Brienne. So the maiden plays a role with Tormund. And then Sandor, he's hideously disfigured. We've never seen any evidence that he participates in rapes or in brothel, like going to brothels. He may be a maiden himself.
Wait, the whole wait, are you saying that the maiden, the whole only definition of this person is that they haven't had sex? I mean, that's
no, not necessarily. I mean, these are
wow, what a deep character to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's deeper explanations for all the 7 gods, but I'm just going at the face of what they are.
Well, I mean that's what should I say? A more spiritual interpretation. I mean, versus saying like one's dopey, one's grumpy.
I mean, it does say the maiden represents innocence and chastity, so that's one of the attributes of the maiden. Yeah, that's cool, man. I like it. I mean, I definitely think the 7 is significant in this world, and so that's pretty fun.
Yeah, so I'm just like, it's crazy to me that we have all these phenomenal fighters and these capable warriors all in one place and on one mission, like at the same time. It's gonna be crazy to see what happens next week with this.
Is there a Deadpool?
What?
Is there a Deadpool?
Yeah. What are the chances they all come back alive?
Oh,
very low.
0.
Very low.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna lose Beric and Thoros. I think Beric is going to sacrifice himself to save the Hound. That's my prediction.
Wait, Beric gets reborn, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, only if Thoros is around.
Beric has some kind of, it was hinted a couple episodes ago, grand purpose. So maybe we'll see what that is next week.
I think his purpose is a placeholder for the Hound.
What?
I think he's been being revived so that he could save the Hound eventually.
Okay. Whatever happens, it's going to be freaking awesome, I bet.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's cool. All right, my turn. So I wanted to talk about Dany and her attitude and whether she's doing things in a good way. And it's an interesting thing to think about and to probably debate.
Definitely. I've had a few conversations about this.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, one of the first scenes we saw in Game of Thrones was when Ned Stark chopped the head off of that Night's Watch guy who deserted his post. Mm-hmm. And we know he did that for the guy deserted his post for very good reasons, but Ned's like, rules are rules, sorry, honk. And so we know that he's one of the guys we hold up as being one of the most good people on the show, and she had a great point that Jon Snow killed thousands of people to take Winterfell back, and that's what she's kind of doing. She's like, I want to take what I feel is rightfully mine, just like you were taking what's rightfully yours. Right. and it's good. I love that she made an example of the Tarleys by using her dragon, because that's her symbol. That's what strikes fear into the hearts of men, and she wants the stories to go around like this is what's going to happen. But then on the other hand, I loved that Varys and Tyrion were saying, Varys was like, I used to do the same thing with Aerys. I would say I found the traitors, but I wasn't the one burning them alive, so I didn't do it.
And he's really upset by this because he doesn't drink, but he's chugging Tyrion's wine.
But now here's the difference with Aerys is he tricked people and lied and imagined enemies where there were none, right? Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So it's not the same.
And also the people that Daenerys burned were enemy combatants who were actively warring against her.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for instance, when she was talking with Jon Snow last episode, Jon had said, you don't want to, if you use your dragons to melt castles and attack cities, then you're nothing different. You're no better than any of the Mad right. King or any of the evil rulers of the past. So the impression that I got from that is that he's warning her against using her dragons in a terroristic attack, something right. in a civilian area that induces fear and creates panic. She ended up using her dragons for military purposes with no civilians around, strictly strategically for, in a non-terroristic fashion. So I think that she lived up to what Jon had said and is using them the best way she possibly could.
But her inclination has been to go in and do that, though, and she has to be talked out of it. And they're really putting a lot of focus on that, it looks like maybe she might have some of that madness in her blood, and will the scales tip the other way at some point? It feels like that's where they're going with it. Tyrion certainly seems worried. You get a lot of focus on him. Just going,
at the beginning of the episode, especially.
And then another question I have: let's say she is there now, telling all these men, "We can make a better world together. I want to make things better for the poor people and not do what Cersei's done and just have everyone in her service." I mean, she put it much more poetically, something about the wheel that's crushing everyone. But she built up her army and for years has been readying herself to try and take over Westeros I don't know how much she knew about what kind of kings and queens there were there. What if she came in and it turned out that Cersei was actually a great ruler? I mean, her whole motivation has been to do things like free slaves and stuff, but also that she just feels like this is her rightful throne and she wants to take vengeance after what Robert Baratheon did. So what if she came in and everything was fine? Would she be like, okay, I guess everything's fine. I don't need to take over.
I doubt it. Yeah. Her family built the Red Keep just like, the Starks built Winterfell, and they both are going to fight to get them back.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess, without really, maybe if we knew for sure, everything would be better with her as queen, which I do think it probably would. Don't you? What do you think, Jenny?
I think so.
I think stability is good. Benevolent stability is probably a better thing than a cruel instability, mm-hmm. right? Which is what it kind of is,
especially
right now.
In the context, this like medieval where all there is are authoritarian
Right, and history has shown, like, when things are stable, no matter how fascist it is, it's actually good in the long run. And you look at China when it was finally united. You look at Queen Elizabeth I when, you know, they actually had the same monarch for decades instead of, you know, constantly fighting it out. I mean, you know, history has shown that
that's better.
That's better. It doesn't last long, right? You know, 60 years later, the person dies, and then all their kids start fighting each other, and it all starts all over again. But you know, it's good during those 60 years, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do think that
Pax Romana.
I do think it's a little to hear Tyrion and Varys kind of be like, oh, look at her. You know, she's drifting over to the dark side, and you're like, oh, come on, you two. I mean, like, Tyrion, you killed your dad. Not because you had to. You had a boat out of town, but you had to stop by, you know, see him and shoot him on the loot. Like, I'm not saying he was a great guy, but like you were overcome with emotion. Not even saying that was
the wrong thing to do, but he's being a hypocrite if he's
right. He was overcome with emotion and you know, felt like that was the right thing to do at that moment. And she did, you know, give them the option of, you know, bending the knee or not, and they don't have a Geneva Convention, and they don't have time to have a bunch of people sit around and write up the Geneva Convention. She probably doesn't have enough food to feed prisoners of war, so in a feudal
society...
Didn't
help that she burned it all last week either.
Yeah, I can kind of, you know, I guess she could have been more like, you know what, I really don't have food to feed you all, so bend the knee, or just gonna have to, you know, feed my dragons.
I feel like this is also Tyrion partially like projecting his own guilt onto her, feeling like he betrayed his house and feeling like he's, you know, participated in bringing like these Dothraki screamers onto his like his home area, essentially. You know what I mean? But I really don't think that she did anything super out of line.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I mean, I really do feel like the way they're going with it is that she is getting more and more fierce and ruthless, and that it's going to be a problem, but we'll see.
Yeah, just got to make sure she's got good counsel.
Yeah, because it's the same
snow marriage
thing with Arya and Sansa, where Sansa's sitting there saying, oh, I know you're thinking that if Jon doesn't come back, you're going to need all these people to be loyal because they'll do what you really want to happen, which I guess is to rule the North, right? And you keep thinking about that, even though you don't want to, but the thought just won't go away. That's just because you have thoughts like that. I mean, it reminded me of this parable, which I will now relate, where a grandfather's talking with his grandson, and he says there are two wolves inside of us which are always at war with each other. One of them is the good wolf, which represents things like kindness, bravery, and love. The other is a bad wolf, which represents things like greed, hatred, and fear. The grandson stops and thinks about it for a second. Then he looks up at his grandfather and says, "Grandfather, which one wins?" The grandfather quietly replies, "The one you feed." So the point is, you know, we all have these, or some of us have these thoughts, but what really matters is where you put your focus and energy and all that. Not just that you have them, which is what dark little Arya was suggesting. I actually, my estimation of the two of them switched around in this episode. At first, I thought Sansa was kind of the more neurotic one that was going to end up screwing things up, but as time goes on, she seems very capable and loyal to Jon, and Arya's in there just planting little negative seeds in things.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when she was just like, oh, you know, she just wanted to like kill people who weren't, you know, she's like, just kill them. And I'm just like, you know.
Yeah, Sansa brought up beheadings, right? She said it's like cutting people's heads off isn't the way to get people to work together, and she learned that's what Robb did. Robb had beheaded Lord Rickard Karstark and lost the war because of it, basically.
Right. She's learned, yeah.
Well, that's because Arya is so used to working on her own. You know, she's not used to working in a team.
Yeah, and she's basically trained to kill.
Death house,
you know,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you got one tool in your box, the hammer. You're going to use it, which is what basically she has.
What's your number one?
My number one, dragons. Yeah, there's a lot of dragon action now, and it's really cool. Even whether it's a close-up caress or, you know, them cooking, barbecuing.
Those close-up shots are really cool.
Yeah, when he touched him, that was some damn good CGI.
Even looking down from his back, from Daenerys' point of view, and you can see all the spines and like the little lumps on his skin and everything. Like, it was really impressive.
So what you guys were mentioning about, like, she seems to have the dragons more under control. I do feel like we're getting a little bit more dragon psychology now, and I'm hoping it'll get a bit more specific, because right now, it's interesting how Drogon is like just doing whatever she says when he wasn't so obedient before.
Right.
So and also I'm just kind of like, wait, is this like an alpha male versus beta male thing? Because like the other two aren't jealous that she rides him, she lets him fly free, she never locked him up, she seemed
that's what I was
like
thinking
this guy
too.
more.
Now that John's got the approval of the alpha dragon, he can take his pick of the other two, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like before the end of this, we'll have 3 people riding dragons, and it'll be Dany and Jon and probably somebody else.
Okay, I was just thinking, because she's saying, these are my children. I'm like, yeah, your children were like, dude, mom likes Drogo a lot.
He's the alpha.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be Dany, Jon, and Tyrion, I'm guessing, because of that saddle that he designed in season 1, foreshadowing him needing a saddle to ride something.
Nice.
No, that shadow was for Bran.
No, it was.
Oh, and I was just wondering, like, I know she was trying to make a nice scene in which she has the Tarleys get cooked, but I mean, that seems like a waste of meat right there. Like she could have just had the same effect if she said, like, all right, Drogo, here's lunch.
It's about the fire, the dragon fire.
I know, but you gotta feed those dragons. How is she gonna feed those dragons? I'm sorry, I really think
blood.
a lot about logistics in war, because I know that's how you win the war, right? Logistics.
Actually, yeah, and this is super logistical in my opinion, because when you hear, well, no, I guess you're right. I was going to say, when you hear that 2 men were burnt alive by dragons, you're going to go, oh shit, I don't want that to be me. But if you heard that they were also just eaten, that would probably have the same effect.
if not worse.
That was so cool in Marine when the dragons lit those guys on fire and then ripped them in half and were eating them.
And that scene with the dragon at the top of the hill just kind of regally resting there, and Dany and all these beleaguered, dirty, beaten, defeated men at her feet. It was such a great scene. I don't think I can't remember seeing a scene exactly like that before, and I always love when I see something new, so that was super cool.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And first it shows Drogon sitting there with like stretched out with the backlit from the sun. And then Dany kind of steps into the foreground of the picture and just looks super intense. I thought it was really just a beautifully laid out shot as well.
I'm sure Tyrion was like, all right, when you talk to the enemy, make sure we have the angle just right. Let's practice this because we got to wow them.
Fix your posture, Drogon.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Duncan.
All right, let's see. My number 1 is the Dany and Jon relationship, and the first major sign that she is starting to fall for Jon is when he talks about how he has to go north of the wall, and there's this pang of emotion and pain that flickers across her face right before she interjects, and it's just becoming more and more obvious that.
She loves him.
Something is happening there.
Yeah. And
cool.
She was curious about when Davos said you were knifed in the heart. Was that real? Because she's just wanting to know more about him, because she's impressed with him. And I think he was about to tell her the truth, but he got interrupted by Jorah.
Yeah. Is it a figure of speech, she asked? Is it a figure of speech? And he couldn't lie. He was silent. He wasn't going to lie about it, So he had to say something. He probably would have ended up telling her the truth.
Exactly.
But then, boom, Jorah shows up. My bear! And she got excited that their teddy returned.
When Jorah and Dany were embracing, he didn't look happy. I think he's liking her, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw an interview with him after their first meeting and the premiere. Or no, what was it? Dragonstone episode 2 this season?
Uh-huh.
And Kit Harington said that there's a moment when Jon walks into the throne room And he didn't know what to expect. He didn't realize that it would be this young, beautiful woman about his age.
Right.
So he walks in and is like, "Oh my God!" Like for a split second, then he remembers, "Oh, I got to focus," and like pulls it together and collects himself. But if you watch it again, you can see just for a moment a glimmer of like awe in his eyes when he walks in there. So it's there, you know. And what's Davos knows? He saw him staring at her good heart and everything, like. You know,
and the worry about this is, you know, it's sort of been a possibility for a long time that these two might meet up and have something. And then I'm like, oh, what if the actors don't have any chemistry? And now that they're together, I mean, it's not like sizzling, oh my God, but it's pretty good, I would say. What do you think?
I think they've got great chemistry.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of them kissing on Instagram as well, and they had definitely had chemistry there. So if they can have chemistry for that, they can definitely have chemistry on screen as well.
You mean Emilia Clarke was kissing Kit Harington?
Yes.
Just like for fun?
Yeah, they were on some photo shoot, and the guy was like, "Why don't you guys kiss?" And like, okay. Literally.
That's awesome.
I'll post it on our Game of Microphones Facebook page.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I find it a very courtly attraction.
Yeah, I think it's simmering.
I don't think there's as much heat, but yeah, you know, maybe they
slow
just need
burn.
to get locked up in a cave with a dragon outside for a while.
So when Jon does go to leave, and we get some cool moments with Tyrion seeing Jorah again and all that, but he says to Dany, you know, maybe there's a chance that I won't come back. Then, you know, you won't have to deal with the king in the north anymore. And she says to him, well, I've grown used to him.
Yeah, that scene was like you said, the clearest indication that she's into him.
Yeah. That point, she's made it vocal, like, but I like you now. You know what I mean?
Right. And like I said, I really think the way he responded to the dragon kicked it up a couple of notches.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You could tell just like the look on her face when she was looking down at him, like, there's my man. He's worthy. Drogon says he's worthy.
Right.
But this is interesting, too, because Jon's headed up north. I feel like it's possible that she's going to freak out and ride north with her dragons just to make sure that Jon is safe. And Jorah. So we could be met with a surprise Stannis-style dragon ex machina next week.
When Dracarys ex machina. When when Jenny saw him leaving, she was like, that might be the last time they ever see each other.
Yeah.
Which it could be with this show. You never know.
That's what I'm worried about with Jorah.
I was talking about Jorah and her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, he looks back. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm worried that we
might... You doomed yourself with that look back. We all know this.
It's likely.
Yeah, never look back or you'll turn to salt.
They've already had so many reunions. I think that's probably the last one.
Okay. Yeah, he escaped Grayscale just to do one last thing. I'm worried they're going to bring him back as a white.
Oh, yeah. So somebody's going to be a white. One of these guys.
At least one.
Yeah, at least one. Oh, yeah. I can't wait. It's going to be so cool. All right. The Tarleys. So that's my number one. Randall Tarley, it was funny when they pointed out, Tyrion pointed out, well, you know, you switched over from the Tyrells to the Lannisters, so obviously your allegiances can change. And he was like, I don't like foreigners, though.
Yeah, he was not stoked about having a wildling at his dinner table. Like, there's no way he's going to go for the Dothraki.
He's a nationalist, anti-immigration. So, but I love that Dany responded calmly to that. You wouldn't trade your honor for your life. I respect that. And then she's like, Dracarys.
He's such a dick, too, but it was really interesting how he reached out and grabbed Dickon's arm right before they got roasted. One moment of semi-softness from Randall, like, you're the son I wanted.
And not only that, but he said, you know, when Dickon spoke up, we're like, who are you? And he goes, just a stupid boy. And then when Tyrion said, come on, man, you should just bend the knee so you can save your house because you're the last one of your house. And Randall Tarley nodded at him. So his ideals were important for his own life, but he would rather his son live and sacrifice his ideals for his son to live. So that was a soft moment that made him very human, and I liked it.
Yeah, for the 1 second, the 1 ounce of sympathy I will ever have for this character.
I mean, if it was Sam, he would have just been like, burn him.
Oh yeah, don't forget this, Tarly.
Yeah, what about this nice fat one over here? So, speaking of Sam, he's the sole surviving son of House Tarly now, and the question.
Well,
becomes,
he was the sole surviving son of House Tarly, but he renounced all names and titles when he joined the Watch.
Well, like I was going to say, the question becomes: is he going to be the Lord of Horn Hill? Now, I think there's a good possibility for a few reasons. One is, I mentioned a few episodes ago, there was foreshadowing. Jaime said to Randall Tarly, when the war's done, Cersei will need a new Warden of the South. I can think of no one better than Randall Tarly. And then the shot immediately went to Sam. And I'm like, oh, are they trying to say Sam will be? And then the fact that they've been focusing on Dickon so much as I'm like, why are they focusing on this character? Well, I think it's just to point out, look, this is the guy that would take over. Well, now he's dead. As far as the Night's Watch goes, he's already breaking his Night's Watch vows by living in sin with Gilly, for one. And number two, will the Night's Watch even still be a thing once the White Walkers get beyond the wall and the wildlings are helping to fight them, proving their worth? You kind of wonder if that's going to hold any sway anymore. So
wow.
If there's any happy ending I'm predicting for the show, it's that Sam and Gilly are going to be the head of Horn Hill, and she'll be pregnant with another baby, and they'll be live happily ever after. That's what I think is going to happen with those two.
Nice.
Well, obviously, legally is whatever you make it to be after you've won the war.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. That's why it's called history, his story.
And I liked that Sam said, I'm tired of reading about the achievements of better man when he decided to leave the Citadel.
You remember that?
Yeah, because that was what his father criticized him for last season. And I think academia is great, but it is sort of learning about the world rather than being a part of it. So I think there needs to be a balance. And right now Sam realizes that the Maesters aren't listening to him and he needs to act in order to have an impact. So he's getting out of there.
Yeah. And I think it was a common criticism when Sam left to be a Maester as well. People are like, wait a minute, Sam's valuable. He knows stuff and he's good at this book stuff. It's going to take years to become a Maester. It's taking him off the chessboard.
Yeah. When
he needs to be on the chessboard, man.
So what did he accomplish? I mean, he saved Jorah, and
he discovered that dragon glass is in Dragonstone.
And maybe he planted a seed for the Maesters to do something if they get more proof, because that one Maester was sort of like, oh, we'll clarify.
And he stole a bunch of scrolls when he left, so he's still got some,
he got
reading
some
to
shit
do.
done, yeah.
And now they're leaving with the knowledge that Lyanna Stark was married to Rhaegar Targaryen.
Or Rhaegar was married to someone.
Yeah.
Well, I think the details were in the book, I'm assuming, but she was just sort of summarizing it for Sam, so she didn't specify all the names.
Yeah, I think that's
what I guess.
That's going to be important. Okay, one thing we did not talk about was the whole Littlefinger gambit with Arya.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he was leading her around by the nose, and this scroll, for people who don't know or remember, is from season 1. Cersei forced Sansa to write it to prove her loyalty when Ned was arrested, and it says, Rob, I write to you with a heavy heart. Our good King Robert is dead, killed from the wounds he took in a boar hunt. Father has been charged with treason. He conspired with Robert's brothers against my beloved Joffrey and tried to steal his throne. The Lannisters are treating me very well and provide me with every comfort. I beg you, come to King's Landing, swear fealty to King Joffrey, and prevent any strife between the great houses of Lannister and Stark. So he's trying to convince Arya that Sansa has loyalties to the Lannisters.
And I feel like he's trying to make it look like Sansa's trying to cover it up as well.
Right.
By asking
he's
if it was the
her.
only scroll. Yeah, and then he was like, oh, Lady Sansa will be grateful for your help in this matter, and like made sure Arya heard it. Yeah.
So I find it a little hard to believe that Arya wouldn't be smart enough to at least suspect that Littlefinger was up to something, and also that was written under duress because I looked it up, but as soon as Robb got it, they figured it out really quickly. That's not Sansa's voice.
It was
that's
the Maester, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't it Maester Lewin? Sansa's right. Sansa's hand, Cersei's words. But here's the thing: Arya doesn't have that council.
Okay, yeah, and also Arya and Sansa, if I remember right, all of their relationship that we saw before they got separated, they were kind of at each other. They didn't like each other very much, and they weren't nice to each other, right?
Yeah,
Right. It's interesting. Everybody's like, they've been separated for so long. Everybody's expecting them to be happy to see each other when they get back. But it seems like time has just sort of like exaggerated the qualities that made them different and not get along in the first place, which is interesting.
I mean, it's like any family. You go home for the holidays. It's nice for the first hour or so, and then you have a few drinks and you're just arguing like you used to.
So Arya wanted to go back to Winterfell, not because she heard Sansa was there, because she heard Jon Snow was there.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
she went there because she thought Jon Snow would be there. I'm sure she was like, oh,
Cool.
it's you.
And you thought, I mean, they got older and a little more mature, and it was nice that they got along, but now their worst tendencies are
dynamic
coming out.
It comes right back.
Yeah. Which is great. It feels
realistic.
real.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is going to have a tragic consequences.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's going to go well.
Yeah,
I'm
Jon's
sorry.
gonna have a mess to clean up. Sansa, you got some splaining to do.
So, I'm just curious, why doesn't Jon want to talk about being stabbed? I mean, like, they've brought it up twice, she's approaching it and they both batted it away. And I'm just like, that's gonna come back and bite you in the ass at some point.
I think that he's avoiding it because it's already quite a leap of faith for the people to believe in the concept of the Night King and the army of the dead. If then he's like, oh, I came back from the dead too. You know what I mean?
By the way, and I can fly.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
people are like, okay, strap him up, put him in the fucking solitary.
Well, because I was thinking like Davos was like, oh, he took a knife in the heart for the people. And I was like, well, did he take a knife in the heart for the people or because of a certain subset of the people, which would show that he's not quite... he's king in the north now, but he didn't have quite the support of everybody at one point.
I think it's what Duncan said and about not wanting to strain credibility, but also it sort of almost makes him into a Christ figure, and he's humble and he's just not wanting.
Yeah,
to,
he's not. He doesn't want to. Yeah, he's not all about that. But also when he got stabbed in the heart, he was taking that knife in the heart for the people because he was putting everything in perspective and fighting for the realms of men, which he decided included wildlings, who are men. So he brought them to safety through the wall, and then a subset group of Tarly-esque nationalists essentially stabbed him.
Right. And then he killed them all, and so now he really is for the people because he got rid of the
all
subset
that
that were against him.
Totally.
So
just let the people you want to live survive.
I like that. I'm getting into some notes. I like that it came out who killed Joffrey, and Cersei knows that now for some reason. I just like when people learn things.
And you can tell the second that she realizes it's true, too, because at first she's like, the old fucking bag. She was just, trying to fuck with you, Jamie. Was it before or after you fed her the poison, dude? And he's like, dude, like, she had no reason to lie about it. Think about it. If you were her, who would you want your granddaughter to marry? Joffrey or Tommen? And then she thinks about it, and when it hits her, it was really good acting. She sits down, and like, you could tell she's.
And then
like,
her thoughts went straight to, "You should have tortured Olenna."
Yep, immediately. Like, she should have died screaming.
And she looked like a Romulan with that outfit and the haircut. It was almost ridiculous. They used to wear those like patched, the with
kind
the
of military
V-neck,
style.
and the bowl cut. And she's just missing the pointy ears. And
it's hilarious.
Do you really think that she's pregnant?
Good question. I mean, here's the interesting thing. If she's not pregnant, let's think about this psychologically. Jamie has fathered 3 children, but he did not have the opportunity to act as father to any of them. Finally, after spending his whole life in love with his sister, it's out in the open. She's the queen. They can be open with it like the Targaryens were. He has an opportunity to be an active father. He's not in the Kingsguard anymore, right? He can do it legit and be a family man and create a legacy. So if she's lying to him about it, I think that would be enough to break him. because it's not something that he wants to joke about. I imagine, like it's serious to him.
Yeah.
So if that's a lie, I think
to manipulate him into doing what she wants, then he might flip out on her.
He would flip. Yeah, basically.
Another thing about her, she said, "So we fight and die, or we submit and die. I know my choice." And I thought, you got a good point there.
Yeah, and she said, as a soldier, you should know your choice too.
Yeah,
like.
And it made me think of the prophecy that we saw a couple seasons ago with Maggie, the Wood Witch. She said Cersei wouldn't marry a prince, but she'd marry the king. That ended up being Robert Baratheon. That she would be queen, but in time,
good call.
Or wait, another one was asked if she and the king would have children. Oh, the king will have 20 children, but you'll only have 3. Well, that's all his bastards. And that gold would be their crowns and gold their burial shrouds. Well, now they're all dead.
But here we go. There's another problem with that. In season 1, she had mentioned to Catelyn Stark that they had an infant, a newborn baby with black hair that had died young.
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So that falsifies the prophecy.
Oh, wait. She already had another child?
She and Robert apparently had a baby together with beautiful thick black hair, which fit the genealogy of the Baratheon family, but he died. He was taken by a fever, I think, very, very, very early, and it sort of damaged her and damaged their relationship even further. It was very quick passing.
And it's justified because she does talk to Robert in one scene, and she talks about their baby, and he talks about it with her. So it's not like she made it up for Catelyn.
So
yeah, that was a great scene too.
That calls into question this other part that I thought might be significant, but now who knows? But she said, you will be queen, but in time you'll be cast down by another younger and more beautiful queen, which seems to say that Daenerys will cast her down. And also, I just wanted to mention there's other prophecies, or at least one more that she says in the book, but I don't want to talk about it on the podcast. I'd rather save it for the Still Smug book episode, because it might be a little spoilery.
Yeah, it may be something they're leaving out to then throw in the show to be a surprise, because it could be too telegraphed if they added this prophecy on the TV show. So yeah, we won't talk about that.
Hey, Jason, you can cut this out, but I went through this entire series thinking that Cersei had killed her first child. But when I try to do a search on it, no one mentions it. So did I just hallucinate that?
I don't.
It's interesting.
That.
I wondered the same thing.
My last note, I just thought it was really funny when Tormund said to Jon, "How many queens are there now? 2. And you need to convince the one with the dragons or the one who fucks her brother." Both. And then, how many men did you bring? Jon nods at these 5 other guys. The big woman.
Yeah, Tormund cannot die before defiling Brienne.
And then last, hopefully she won't consider it a defilement.
Yeah. That's a crude one.
Last, Davos says, "I'll be staying here. I'm a liability out there." He goes, "You are." Okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's take a little break. There's more to come. Stay with us.
I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, the ring of fire.
All right, we're back. It's time to talk about what's become the official sponsor of the Game of Microphones podcast this season, and that is Fracture. Fracture is your photos printed on glass in beautiful, vivid color. And I try to come at this at a new angle each time. And this time I want to talk about what I think is great about the company. That's focus. Because they only have this one product, that it allows them to really do it right. They have such pride in it, and they have a lot of attention to detail, even the packaging. Also, they have a lot of attention on customer satisfaction. They really, really want you to be happy with what you get. And there was one time where I cropped mine wrong. I think I told you guys this before, and I told them, and they sent me a new one cropped correctly. So they're really responsible. They are responsive.
Even if it's your fault, they fixed it.
I know, and I don't know if I would want to guarantee that they will do that every time, but I do know that if there's something wrong with it, they'll definitely fix it for you. Yeah, and they call that their happiness guarantee. And they also build a full experience around the products. If you go to their website, they have a blog with like photography tips, and they have a bunch of art, so you can buy a Fracture not with your own photo, but with all these classic or modern art pieces. You can pick one that you think would look good in your decor. They have contests all the time, and you can win like $200 worth of Fractures by sending in your awesome photos. They're all handmade right here in the U.S. in Gainesville, Florida, and they're really good for gifts or for those particularly great photos that you've taken. And here's one that we took. I asked Jenny which one I should do next, and you said this one. What is it?
It is our older son, who is 5 at the time, holding for the first time his baby brother, who was probably half his weight. And so there's a little bit of instability, but it's very adorable, and it's just so cute.
Yeah, because Nico's smiling and
Bodhi has a look
Bodhi's
of
horrified.
Fear.
So we love that. I was thinking if I was in the world of Game of Thrones, I'd want like a dragon and the Night King up on the wall.
Yeah, maybe Oathkeeper.
Or a picture of you and your friends standing in front of the Night King and the dragon, and you've got your hands in V's and you got a big smile.
Tormund
This
would
was
just want
my
the big
vacation
woman.
north of the wall.
Oh, man.
But if you want to get one for yourself, you can go to fractureme.com/podcast and choose Gamer Microphones. And if this is the first time you've got one, if you haven't got one yet, you'll get 10% off your order. So that's fractureme.com/podcast. Thank you as ever, Fracture.
Oh, and I have one that we had 5 years ago when Nico was the same age as his baby brother, that I have hanging up in my office, and everybody comments on it every time I come in.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
So.
Yeah, these things get comments for sure. All right, now it's time for the news.
First in the news, we have an update to the HBO hacking story. As you guys remember, HBO was hacked recently, a couple weeks ago, and hackers stole 1.5 terabytes of data, including corporate emails from the executive level with details of scripts and all kinds of stuff. They released a script last week for this episode before the episode aired, and now it's come out that the hackers have released an email with HBO offering to pay them $250,000 in bitcoins for basically as a ransom. Apparently they had demanded a lot more than that. They had wanted 6 months worth of their salaries, claiming they make $12 to $15 million from stealing intellectual property and blackmailing companies.
Jeez.
Just share your illegal business plan with everybody. It's totally cool. And people connected with HBO are saying that the $250,000 payout is basically a stalling tactic, and that they're not planning on paying it out at all, which also is not smart to tell people, because you want them to buy it, that you're at least considering paying them. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting update to that story.
I think $250K is a good price. I mean, like, if they paid it, I'd be like, well, you know, I mean, aren't there people, the ransomware, and people are paying the ransomware, and sometimes you just got to look at like, okay, this hospital has to keep working,
Yeah.
Versus
Right.
$9K.
There's also speculation that they actually don't have as much as they say they have, because so far only one actual episode had been leaked out, and it came out that was actually from something different, not from
Right.
Right.
So
That's
they may
that
be
was my next
bluffing.
story.
I mean, I'm not saying they should pay it, because I think
okay.
there's a part of me that's just like, dude, if you don't pay it, I'm fine with that too. But if they actually like followed up and didn't release any of that stuff, $250K does seem kind of like a bargain these days.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying they might not actually have stuff. So,
Right.
yeah.
$250K for a few minutes of typing on a keyboard. Yeah, it works. Next in the news, we
way
have
to
a
track 'em
further update. Yeah, totally. We have 4 being arrested for leaking Game of Thrones episode. Entertainment Weekly reports. Apparently, 4 people in India have been arrested for leaking a Game of Thrones episode, according to a report by the international news agency France Press. The arrests are in response for the leaking of the hit show's 4th episode, The Spoils of War, which leaked from Star India, one of HBO's international distributors, a few days before it aired last week. At first, people thought that it had leaked in relation to the hack, but apparently there was a watermark on the video that they traced back to a copy that had been given to this Indian company. And the company has basically informed the police of 4 people involved within their organization, and arrests have been made. So that's interesting.
Good. They're not messing around.
Yeah, definitely not messing around. You fuck with HBO, like you're getting locked up or something. Let's see. Next, we have an interview with Kit Harington, who's talking about setting the template for season 8 and what it's been like growing up with Jon Snow. Imagine forming. Oh, wait, this is from Watchers on the Wall. So you guys know watchersonthewall.com, which is a cool website. They do recaps, reviews, all kinds of news about Game of Thrones. Imagine forming an instant bond with someone, an intimate one that sees you through nearly a decade of your life and provides you with incredible experiences and memories. That's how Kit Harington described his relationship to his Game of Thrones character, Jon Snow. I've played him all through my 20s, and his 20s too, really, and we've grown up together, Harington said in an interview. It sounds like a split personality type thing. To the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. It will be hard to let him go. I've loved playing him and being part of the series. Although he couldn't elaborate much, Harington also touched on how Season 7 is a different animal altogether compared to the series thus far. 7 episodes instead of 10, he said, and each of those episodes is bigger and bolder than before. The last episode is incredible, really, and the length will be longer as well. It will set the template for next year. Harington also talked about the influence Thrones had on his acting career and how lucky he feels to have landed the role. Who knows what could have happened, but it's rare to find something like this that's so popular and widely watched, he said, having given him the, quote, notoriety to do other interesting projects. And it's true, this season has been very different than past seasons. The pace has just been off the rails.
He won the lottery, too, with getting on a good TV show.
Oh, God. Kidding me? Yeah. Especially for a, I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I think he's a great actor, but his character requires just one facial expression, essentially. You know what I mean? Just mope. Stand around and mope, Kit.
It is challenging to make an honorable man exciting. Is that it?
Yeah. All right. A mopey bastard exciting. Next, we have an article from Vanity Fair by Joanna Robinson, who is also co-host of Cast of Kings podcast. And she's always really good at coming up with these connections and putting things together. And she always releases articles every week. So if you haven't looked into her work with Vanity Fair, I recommend it. I find her a little too critical of the show personally, so I don't necessarily always listen to the podcast, but she's really good with these connections. So she has an article, "This tiny detail could be the real reason Gendry's back." And it's kind of a long article, but I'll sum it up. She's suggesting that the need for smithing Valyrian steel is ever present, especially present now with the threat of the walkers coming and the introduction of a smith at this point, and other details that apply that show that the smithy that he worked for previously he was the guy apparently that reworked the steel when ice got melted down and turned into Oathbreaker and Widow's Wail. So this guy apparently had knowledge of how to rework Valyrian steel at the least. So she's proposing that Gendry may in fact end up smithing Valyrian steel for the war to come, which would be pretty badass.
Yeah.
And there's another potential major influence that he could have, which goes back to how I mentioned that his hammer has the stag antlers on it. If he's legitimized, there could have been foreshadowing in season 1 and 2 for his upcoming role and how he will fit into the plot. If you remember, when he was headed north after his smith that he was apprenticing for basically saved his life by shipping him off with Yoren to go up to the Night's Watch so that the Gold Cloaks wouldn't get him and murder him. And he became friends with Arya at that point. And he was the one guy in the crew besides Jaqen H'ghar who wasn't dumb enough to think that she was a girl or think that she was a boy, basically. So he knew that she was a girl. He played along. They were friends. They joked around. when he found out that she was Lady Stark, he was all embarrassed. I was pissing in front of you and whatnot. I guess I'm going to have to call you Lady Stark now. He was joking around with her. She tells him to shut up, pushes him over, and they had kind of a fun relationship, laughing around, joking around. They're friends, it was cool. But if you go all the way back to season 1 in the pilot episode, when Ned and King Robert are down in the basement and the crypt in front of Lyanna's statue, and Robert is lamenting about how his love was stolen from him, and that it's not too late, that Robert has a son and Ned has a daughter, and they can join their houses. And at the time, that obviously had been referring to Joffrey and Sansa, but now it could be referring to Gendry and Arya. If Jon legitimizes Gendry and basically revives the Baratheon household, they have a further opportunity to join their houses together with Gendry and Arya,
right,
which could ease tensions with the whole who gets to be king thing as well, especially considering that Gendry could try to claim that he has a claim to the Iron Throne, being a bastard son of Robert.
He's going to have to deal with her newfound darkness, though, if he does that. He's going to be whispering crap into his ear all the time.
Well, he makes weapons, so maybe he's totally down.
Yeah, he might love that.
I was kind of hoping with the destruction of the Tyrells and the near destructions of the Tarleys. You said it yourself, Duncan. We have to get rid of the aristocracy. It's time to move on to what was it? What were you?
Constitutional Republic.
A constitutional republic. And so focusing on the legitimacy of a bastard is just continuing on with this obsession with royal houses. Let the Baratheons die off. Or maybe it's just time for some new houses to start new stories. Like, I don't know, what's Bron's last name again? He's pretty obsessed with starting his own
of the
house.
Blackwater.
Johnson.
The flea bottomers.
Bron Johnson.
So I don't know.
I'm for it.
I do know it makes for good storytelling and good plotting and all that stuff. But there's a part of me that's just like when one of the royal houses dies out, I'm just like, ha, one down.
Yeah, just a vacuum to be filled by the small folk who can rise higher. I agree. Yeah, that'd be cool. Let's get some voting going on here. And let's see. Yeah, that pretty much covers it for the news today.
Awesome. Okay, we have a new piece of news. Jenny needs to go feed our baby.
All right.
So we're going to do the listener response, just me and you, Duncan, while Jenny takes a break for more important purposes. But come back for the end.
Okay.
See you, Jenny.
All right. Have any ravens come by recently? Oh, here they come.
Wait, get out of here, Melissa.
You're not on this one. Okay, tons and tons of responses this week, and thank you to everyone who wrote in and everything. If yours doesn't get read, just please try again later. We can't read them all. But first one is from Brianna Cummings, who says, I haven't had an asthma attack in a while. This episode cured that. I hit the pause button way too often to process and catch my breath. My daughters, ages 17 and 20, who are watching with me, didn't find that amusing. Stop it, Mom. We don't care if you can't process all this fast enough, Mom.
Brianna, I think you've confused what curing is here. Causing asthma attacks is not curing anything.
She's been cured of not having asthma.
Yeah. Rima Joe says, been calling it for a while, and I'm totally taking great pleasure in being right. Rhaegar and Lyanna were married when Jon was born. Not only is he Targaryen, but he's legit. And what a moment he had with Drogon. Even if Jon doesn't know yet, that the dragons do. They can sense it. And the dragons cannot die yet, as some keep stating. Yes, I know we may lose one or all, and it will devastate me when it happens, but we have to have 3 dragon riders first. There are so many things that can be said about this episode, and many will say them better than I. I do want to say that these last few eps, with all the reunions and throwbacks to previous seasons, and this one included, to see who has survived so far, all come together in some form is absolutely thrilling. To see so many key players, favorite/principal characters and scenes together makes me giddy. And I don't And I don't ever say that Game of Thrones makes me giddy. I guess that's how I know they, George R. R. Martin and the Double Ds, or GoM and the Double Ds, will pull the rug from under me and kill the dragons and everyone else on the show that matters.
Oh, that's so morbid to think that the dragons will die.
But it's also so GoM.
Gosh, Remajo. That's dark. Okay. Gemma Hall says, so this season the writers are basically screaming at us. Jon is a Targaryen. We know this. Everybody knows this. Please, for the love of the Lord of Light, someone tell Jon Snow. I kind of agree.
Like that. For the love of the Lord of Light.
I hope that gets out this season. I hope he finds out.
Yeah, I mean, last season we found out he's a Targaryen. I think this season he finds out he's a Targaryen.
Yeah.
It only makes sense. Final episode.
And I want to see Dany's reaction to that. Will she be like, "Oh, cool," or "Oh shit"?
Yeah, right. Oh God, he just stepped in front of me in the line of succession.
Now I have to kill him.
Now I have to marry him.
Right.
Damian Vargas says, the main thing I wanted to comment on is Emilia Clarke's incredible acting. She's saying her lines to Jon, all the while emoting her true feelings developing for him in her eyes and subtle facials. Ironically, this all started with an incestuous affair that was seen as ugly and may end with one everyone wants. Great comment,
That's
Damian.
Hilarious. Lara Willie Swink says, I really, really, really hope Tyrion and Varys can give Dany some good counsel. I don't want her to be her father's daughter. On Dany's lighter side, her reunion with Jorah was one of the most touching of the season so far. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that, but that was pretty nice.
Oh, it was. She went right in for the hug, no hesitation, and yeah, it was beautiful. I'm really glad that Daenerys has forgiven his his past transgressions.
More than proven his loyalty.
Yeah, she knows now that his devotion is pure, and it's nice. I like their relationship. Nick Quinto says, "Damn, their knees bent so fast. I think I heard a crack." LOL.
Yeah, that was pretty good. How some of them knelt right away, and then others, when the dragon roared,
just dove to the ground.
Okay.
What? Just the sight of the dragon wasn't enough. It had to roar.
Right. Sarah Oakes says, it's wonderful how fast each episode is moving now. After this episode, I have no doubt that Dany is totally falling for Jon. I have no idea how they plan to grab a white for Far Beyond the Wall, but I love that all these characters we met are now together. Can't wait to see how it all plays out. P.S. Jon is the true king of the Seven Kingdoms.
Think about that, man. Born a king, raised a bastard, and then raised up to kingship based on his own merits. That is a tragic and beautiful story right there.
Yeah.
Something really special.
I bet you there's at least some people, if not a whole lot, who are going, come on, guys, Daenerys is the one. And I don't blame you. I don't think it's an easy choice, between the two of them.
Right.
Just to put that out there. But I would, if I had to vote, I think at this point I might vote for Jon. But I'm not sure. I mean, she might be more capable, actually. So who knows?
I'd vote for the two of them together. I think
me too.
The blend of the two is the song of Ice and Fire. I think that either one wouldn't have the full picture. So yeah, it's exciting.
And she's back.
I'm back.
All right.
So we're at Michael Darwin, right under Sarah Oakes.
Michael Darwin, that is such an awesome name. I've always wanted to name our child Darwin.
She wanted to name our kids Darwin and Random.
Random. That would be freaking cool.
Okay, and
That's
then
a random name.
Well, I liked it, but then people said,
I think I know somebody named Random or heard a story about something. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. And then I decided maybe Darwin and Wolf after the islands of the Galapagos.
I never said Wolf. That's a good one.
But anyways, Michael Darwin, who has a great last name, says, what if they don't bring back a White Walker? What if they bring back Benjen Stark?
Ooh.
They'd be like, that guy looks like he's got some skin problems.
Yeah, we've got another comment that elaborates a little bit on that coming up too. Joe Fletcher says, what if the White Walker they bring back is one of them? What if the Lord of Light is keeping Beric alive so he can die as a white? Emoji.
Yeah, man. I bet you the white that they bring back is going to be one of those guys. It's in that group of 7.
If it's one of them, I think it's going to be Jorah, man.
Yeah.
And that will convince Dany beyond a doubt because she knows Jorah so well. She'll know he's not faking it.
This is all just baseless speculation, by the way. So if it actually does happen, don't kill us.
Right. Definitely don't kill me.
Right. And definitely not me. Or my wife. Chris says, if you gave me this list, Jon Snow, Davos, Tormund, Jorah Mormont, Beric Dondarrion, Thorsamir, the Hound, and Gendry, I would have guessed, quote, a group of characters destined never to be in the same place at the same time. Not a bunch of Egypts going out beyond the wall together to capture a live dead man to bring to the queens.
Great comment. That's a good guess. A group of people never to be in the same place.
Right.
And I like the concept of a live dead man as well. That's
catch a live one. I mean a dead one.
Kristen Hal says, that was a formidable team. I'm excited to see what happens next. Not sure about all of them coming back alive, though. I hope they all have at least a shard of dragonglass or Valyrian steel on them.
Yeah, you'd think they would have taken some dragonglass up there, right?
You would think.
Yeah.
But we'll
how
find
do you say
major
Eric's last
mistake
name?
if not. Featon.
There's seven warriors, not 7 project managers.
Brainiacs.
Eric Featon, a.k.a. Mr. Blog, says, the magnificent fucking 7.
I like that because you can tell that means he really liked that.
Yeah,
without him really having to say it. A.D. Stout says, Gendry! I thought you might still be Rowan. Best line of the night.
Totally.
Ned Rogers says, damn it, Gendry. Why'd you have to come back? All hot and buff, man. Now my wife won't even look at me.
I saw that on the Game of Microphones page. I thought it was great. James Guy Lunas says, just like many characters on the show, I had started to discount Littlefinger. Started to think that with so many strong, independent people gathered together now, Littlefinger's power had diminished. Stupid me. Stupid. I feel almost as dumb as Sam was in this episode. We've both been spending too much time with Jon because we know nothing.
And Heather Hildebrand says, Arya is smart. I'm certain she knew Littlefinger was watching her, watching him. I think Littlefinger just made a big mistake and Arya's going to make him pay. I don't think so.
Have you hung out with 2 sisters who hate each other?
Yeah. There were a few other listeners, to be fair, Heather, who thought the same thing. And we'll see. Maybe you're right. But I really think that he's getting in there and causing some trouble.
I'm scared. That's all I'm saying.
Nicole Schmeling says, I loved Arya and Sansa's interactions, mostly because they confirmed that Arya is not infallible. I think her distrust in Sansa is kind of a character flaw. Full disclosure, Sansa is my favorite character and has been since season 1.
No, so it's a little biased opinion.
Yeah, I agree Sansa was probably having those thoughts Arya was saying, but as long as she isn't acting on them, I don't think it's really a problem.
It's the wolf you feed.
Yeah, right. I agree.
I mean, she only took their parents' rooms when Jon told her to. Arya is great and another favorite of mine, but she still has room to grow. And I fully believe this is going to come back to bite Littlefinger in the ass.
In the end, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And good point. I totally had forgotten how she had said to Jon, well, I guess I'll get, Mom and Dad's chambers ready for you. And he said, no, you take them. You're the Lady of Winterfell. I'm the bastard, right? So
he's the character I feel like, along with Cersei, really needs to get what's coming to him.
Who, Littlefinger?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be real fun when it happens. I love Littlefinger too. So
yeah, me too. Yeah.
He's just so much fun to watch.
He's a great character.
Like, such a scumbag.
So Tom Moore says, Gilly reading about Rhaegar and Lyanna's marriage. Oh my fucking God. That piece of news is such a huge game changer. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
Mega.
absolutely.
Well, to all these people obsessed with legitimacy.
Right.
All right. We have an email, or a couple emails. First one is from Travis Sigler. He says, did anyone else just want to smack Sam upside the head to get him to shut up? Gilly just confirmed that our king in the north is the true legitimate king of Westeros. though he probably doesn't want it. Him going north just proved to Dany what kind of a person he is. Speaking of proving himself, the dragon touch. I was personally hoping it would be Rhaegal, but Drogon works too. Also, my Thrones Night crew were talking last night about next week's episode, and I brought up that what if they had just found Uncle Benjen and brought him back, and was like, Jon was like, okay, shh, now pretend to be more dead than you are. She'll buy it, she will. The stag and the wolf, yes! It's like the old times of the rebellion! Which is awesome, the direwolf and the stag back together. Anyways, I'm damn excited for next week's super group. Here's a meme below that can be read off to listeners. Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for? Cheers. P.S. My season 7 Jon cosplay is near complete. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, he's got...
Looking forward to it, brother.
Some good Jon Snow cosplay going on.
Yeah, and he's got a legit wolf to go with it. Greywind the wolf dog.
Oh, he has a wolf dog?
Up on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh.
He's got a Facebook page, too. Check it out.
Okay.
What is it?
Greywind the wolf dog.
Okay, cool.
From K. Deer. Someone on Reddit mentioned Lisa flying out the moon door, and it made me remember Robin Aaron's obsession with wanting to see bad men fly via the moon door. Then I remembered the three-eyed raven telling Bran that he won't walk again, but he will fly. Before this point, I focused on literal flying via warging into a raven or a dragon, as some believe, but hadn't thought about how falling through the moon door is described as flying by Robin. Littlefinger looked very uncomfortable when Bran said, "Chaos is the ladder," connecting that with the fact that Robin and the Vale are basically being controlled by Littlefinger, along with the prophecy of Bran flying, and suddenly my stomach is in knots. Please tell me I'm overanalyzing this and that Bran flying has nothing to do with him being pushed to a presumed death a second time. It would seem to be an absurd death for a very important character, but this is Game of Thrones, so I think you're overanalyzing it.
I think that he's too fucking powerful and he needs to go. No, I'm kidding.
That little twerp.
That little twerp, little bastard.
I love this email because it's like, oh shit, but I hope you're wrong because I love too. Bran. Bran's one of my favorite characters, even with him becoming recently kind of creepy.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a really interesting, just whatever the hell is going on with him.
It's like cosmic awareness.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have one call. This is actually about last week's episode, and it's Anwen from New Zealand.
From New Zealand.
Hey guys, this is Anwen from New Zealand. Oh my god, what an amazing episode. I just loved it. I loved every moment of Arya's homecoming, and when she and Sansa looked like they were going to be all cold to each other and then they hugged, I cried and it was so cool, just loved it. Everything else about the episode was awesome too. The fight at the end, the battle, it was incredible. We were jumping on the couch and screaming and shouting when the dragons showed up. It was so great. Just one other thing. Am I the only one who thinks that Peter Baelish looks like the love child of Edward Norton and Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Anyway, that's it. See ya.
Not
bye.
Anymore.
Oh, that's great.
All right, that's it. That's our show, episode 37. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, as usual. I wanted to mention last week we had some audio problems. There was an echo that started partway through the episode and came in and out, and I went and fixed it. So if you stopped listening last week to our main episode last week, then if you go back and delete it and re-download and you wanted to listen, then you'll get the fixed file, just so you know. In the meantime, if you want to give us a call, you can reach us at 813-563-3739. That's 813-JOFFREY.
If you'd like to write in, you can email us at game@podcastica.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOM podcast.
And be sure to check out our other great podcasts at podcastica.com. Next week, it's going to be Duncan, Return of Mr. Blog, and Lucy from Scotland talking about zombie hunting without me.
I don't know. Looking at the trailer, it doesn't seem like there's hunting zombies as much as the zombies are hunting them.
Hey, that's just as good.
Don't tell me.
I want to see that. That's going to be a good crew, though. Last time Lucy was on with me and Melissa, so this time she'll be on with you and
Yeah,
Eric.
I missed it.
That's going to be really cool.
Oh, it's going to be a wild combination.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening.
And we offer you a choice. You can check out our Facebook page, send us email, or do whatever else you like to become a part of the fun with this podcast.
Or refuse and die.